Welcome to MoEngage Growth Masterclass webinar. Thank you for your time. Today's topic that we are about to discuss is how omnichannel customer engagement maximizes user retention. First of all, I'll give my intro to the audience in the room. My name is Saurabh. I'm the GM here at MoEngage. We are a customer engagement platform, and we work with the likes of Telekom Malaysia. In Malaysia, we work with Carsum, etc. But globally, we work with some of the largest e-commerce companies, helping them evolve their customer engagement practices. For the purpose of today, we'll try and learn a bit more from both of you on how you manage your omni-channel customer practices, how do you engage with your customers, and hopefully audiences can learn a few things from us today. First, I'd like to request you both to introduce yourselves, please. Izza, can I please start with you?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. My name is Izza. I'm the head of product at Valet. I've been working there for 4 years. And I initially started my career as a technical person and engineer for 5 years. And then after that, really fell in love with product management, being the bridge between the business and technical people. And here I am today.
Thank you, Izza. Thank you for your introduction. So you used to be an engineer, and from there you moved into product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was kind of like, why am I building these things? I need to know why. And that kind of why question keeps popping up, and you can't really understand as an engineer. So then that's how I knew product managers are the ones who created things based on the market needs. So yeah, okay. That's where I discovered things.
And with an engineering background, I assume it helps you in your product management role, because you can also think what the engineers need to build in the background.
Definitely. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, thanks for that. I'll come back to you shortly. Khairold, may I request you for your introduction, please?
Hi, my name is Khairold. I work for TM, specifically Unify. So I've been with TM for quite a while, since 2002, I think. It's been working across few departments on line of business. Work with HR, work with wholesale, where we sell telecommunication products to the likes of Celcom, Maxis and stuff, and then we works with global, and finally now I work with our retail arm, specifically Unify, and specifically for our digital channel. Yeah.
Fantastic, Khairold. Thank you for that introduction. So you both work for very large B2C brands, and you're communicating with your consumers for various topics. One thing I wanted to get from you both to start off with is, how do you define omni-channel? What is omni-channel for you? Because there would be businesses who may have physical locations, businesses who only have physical, businesses who have digital plus physical. Izza, starting with you, what is omnichannel for your business?
Well, I think for me, simply put, it's just that unified approach to maintain all the customer experience across all the channels that you have, to make sure everything is integrated and cohesive, so they don't feel missed out when they go in one channel. So it's basically making sure everything is integrated and cohesive.
Fantastic. And Khairold, with physical locations coming into the picture at Telekom Malaysia, does the scenario change a little?
It does not change. I mean, for me, the omnichannel is exactly what Izza said. Having that seamless experience, having that expectation that the company that you interface with knows exactly who you are, your preference, and what are your history, regardless of the channel that you are interacting with.
Absolutely. So here at MoEngage as well, we use a lot of tools to maintain an omni-channel touchpoint strategy with our customers, people who learn from our academy. But we are more of a B2B organization. We work with other businesses like Telekom Malaysia, but in your orgs, you have much larger community of consumers to reach out to. There could be billing inquiries, as an example, and there could be people adding a product to cart or purchasing something and then trying to come back and finishing their purchase. There's a lot of use cases in both scenarios, telco and e-commerce. Let me start off with a wide open question first. And Khairold, we've been working together for 1 year, so maybe I'll start this one with you. For a brand like Telekom Malaysia, which got started with omni-channel marketing early part of this year, what would your advice be to companies that are starting to embark on exploring how to build omni-channel? What are the things you learned after coming on board with us that you wish, in a way, you could have learned, last year?
Right. There's quite a few learnings. There's a lot of learnings, but I would say that firstly, don't try to solve everything all at once. You won't be able to figure out everything on your first try. And you start small. You can have big goal, but you start small and then you iterate. And also you really to need understand your product and your business. For example, right? Fashion Valet, I suppose when they sell clothes, it's more of this is my assumptions of fashion product. It's more of an impulsive buy, right? So you need to know your products. For example, for us, for Unify, our products, it's not really an impulsive buy. People who buy our product make a decision across probably 30 days to figure out what are the right plans for them. You know, they will ask questions before they're finally committing to a product that would subscribe for like 24 months. So it's different process. When different process in the buying journey requires you to engage with the customer differently, right? So for impulsive buying, you know, you would want to constant engagement with the customers, right? Keep on reminding them that this is the products that you have looked at. You might want to buy them. You have left them in the cart, for example. But it's different than the types of product that we are selling. It's a one-off decision that will take you quite some time for you to buy, and then helping customer to decide and alleviating customers' anxiety would be our main focus for this, you know. And then the framework that we typically use for this is we love to use the jobs to be done framework, where we understand what are the push and the pull of the product, and when the customer have decided that they do want to buy our product, we need to be able to ask and answer the question of that might trigger the anxiety from them, right? And also responding to the habit from them. So it is different messaging across different time when we engage with them. So back to my original point earlier, that you really need to understand your product and also your customer.
Understanding customers, that's becoming the motto of every business today. Right. The more you can understand at an individual level, preferences, people who don't like something, etc., the better you can communicate with them. I think omni-channel comes in later, but understanding the customer comes first. And you're 100% right. In your business, decision making is much slower, but then there's a good 2-year, 3-year commitment. Here at my place, I have M1 internet connection, and just today somebody said, I have issues with Saurabh here in Singapore. Can you recommend something? And I said, yep, M1, I've been with them 3 years. And you don't change these things very quickly, internet connectivity, phone bills, etc. But now going to e-commerce, where you have multiple product lines and selling a lot of products on a daily basis, impulsive in comparison to telco. But Izza, I would let you comment on what Khairold just said in terms of the impulsive buying behavior of the consumer.
Well, generally, he is correct. I mean, it's very different business and offerings, right? And from our statistics, our customers come and buy from us 4 to 6 times a year, and it's very different from buying internet, where you have that long-term commitment. So yeah, he is correct on that. And in terms of your question, I do agree 100% with Khairold when he said, don't try to solve everything first. I know a lot of companies that are very aggressive, saying that, okay, we want to try everything, and if we fail, we want to fail fast. But for me, and it really depends, there's no right and wrong on this. It really depends on your resources and your company and the skill set that you have. But for our company specifically, having our own in-house team and not like hundreds of developers, we need to take things step by step. And honestly, when I was onboarded, it wasn't something like Omnichannel was still a new thing 5 years ago. We knew about it, but the efforts were not so clear and people didn't really understand the word. But I saw that we really need to focus on the foundation first to support any omni-channel growth before tackling that. For instance, our offline and online data weren't integrated. So without this integration, without having a centralized data warehouse to make sure that we can pull out everything across all our channels, we can't really understand what to do with our omni-channel efforts and where to start. So to me, like, the steps would be building the foundation first, making sure that you have your own data warehouse or whatever you need to support your decisions in figuring out which omni-channel efforts to prioritize. Because there could be a lot, hundreds of use cases or efforts, a lot of KPIs that you need to define. But which one gives the most impact to the business first, and which one is less complicated to do? All of that takes a factor into which one do you prioritize. So I do agree with the step-by-step method.
Step by step, and what my key learning here is not trying to do everything internally, which is we at MoEngage also have learned over time. Outsource some of the things, and it's like running a restaurant. You can't just keep growing your tomatoes and cabbage. You can cook, you can serve, but at some stage you have to decide, okay, I need to outsource some of my things. I cannot be doing everything myself. Sorry, Khairold, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I would like to add, especially when you're new at this omnichannel, we tend to accept everything at face value. What's the things that popular, for example, engage with your customer, but you really need to understand who you are and who your customer are. For example, for a utility company, for an internet company, you don't want us to keep on messaging you, popping up push notifications for you to tell you about things that you probably wouldn't want to hear. It's not like Fashion Valet, right? Where you can keep on promoting new products, even though if you don't have intention to buy, window shopping is kind of nice. It's kind of like a retail therapy, right? You don't want Tenaga Nasional or, some banks or Unify to keep on wanting to engage with you for the sake of engagement. So that's the thing that we really have to be mindful about. Yeah.
Exactly. What comes to my mind is the concept of personalization. We personalize a lot of things right now, but what you just said, in your industry, personalization is not messaging the user too much. You don't need to, but in e-commerce, it means something completely different altogether. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Okay, great. And talking about different kinds of touch points, Izza, you guys have physical stores also in Malaysia. At what stage did you figure out that omnichannel, connecting digital and physical, is going to become important? You said over past 5 years. Past 5 years ago, you guys weren't very familiar with the term omnichannel. How did that journey look like that you realized this is something that you need to start incorporating in your marketing?
Well, I think it started early on, because we all know that, in our business, our customers, most of our customers are returning customers, and we do want to deliver the same experience. And I think if you know the Fashion Valet brand, we do have had that perception that we offer curated high-end items, and we also want the service to be reflecting that experience. So when there were discrepancies between how things were being done at the store and how things were reflected online, that's already a warning signal. And that is why we said that we can't work this way if we don't have everything integrated, and having our first, second, third party data scattered and decentralized is something that won't work for us. So that's why we started with that first. And just to go back to your question, when we saw our customers complaining that it's a different experience in any other way, that's when we noticed that this is something we have to make sure we improve, to make sure our brand, I would say, USPs are also reflected across all channels. And I think one of the examples that I can give is something simple that boosts our sales around 20-30%, if I remember correctly. It's just a simple omni-channel experience of making sure the customers can use their reward points online and offline. It's really simple. It's basically a no-brainer, but we couldn't do that because first we were relying on another third party for our POS systems on offline. So it was so difficult to integrate, and we said, okay, chuck it. We're not gonna use that anymore. We're gonna build our own POS systems for our retail team and have our data integrated, and now we can do all those omni-channel efforts. And once you recognize, oh, our customers actually love the reward points and use them, and that's what makes them coming back. That's the first thing we tackled. So that goes back to my previous point, like figuring out, knowing your customers, figuring out what they want, and then tackling that and measuring the impact, and like Khairold said, iterating, making sure that it's the best that they can get.
Fantastic. For audiences on the call, we'll talk for another 15-20 minutes, but at the end, I'm going to show on the MoEngage platform for about 5 minutes max. How do you actually even learn more about your customers? So please stay back after the conversation ends. Next question for you, Khairold. The overall channel mix. So typically in the digital space, email has been around for many years. It's been around for over a decade, and as a marketing tool, like a primary marketing tool. But here in Southeast Asia, push notifications, in-app personalization, web personalization, and even SMS. A lot of channels have come into play. MoEngage, by the way, we are launching Facebook as a channel as well in the next 2 months. Sorry, Facebook's already there. WhatsApp is owned by Facebook. So now our customers will be able to start marketing on WhatsApp as well.
All right.
How do you identify what channel mix is working the best for your customers, for your business?
Yeah, a good thing about tools like MoEngage is you can experiment to see which one actually works, right? Because you don't need to just pick one channel And you can orchestrate the flows inside MoEngage. For example, if you send a push notification and then the customer did not, click on it, now you can send email. So you don't necessarily need to figure that out beforehand. You can experiment and see which one work. But having said that, we did learn something, for what things that the channel that works for us. For example, the cart abandonment. I think emails work better because it's more about not when we email for the cart abandonment, it's not really about selling anymore. It's about, taking care of their anxieties and concern, right? So for the email, we have a lot more spaces for us to explain, are they making the right choices? What are the risks if they commit now? Is there any payment? How will the payment will be done? And then, how would be the installation process looks like? So the email seems to be right for us for abandoned cart initiative, but for SMS and push, we use it for outage because it's just a quick message that's saying that you might have a problem here and there. And for personalization, we mostly use in-app notification and also at the banner on our website. So that is where we introduce them to new promotions or new products. Yeah. So different use case, different channel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
See, that's what the tools are there for. Prior to this, we were doing things manually and platforms like ours, but there's a lot more. Like internally in our company for B2B marketing, we use HubSpot, and HubSpot allows us to run marketing emails which are very personalized to a country, a time, etc. I've got a brief story for you from my work in Malaysia back in the day. I used to work in the physical infrastructure industry, and one of my favorite projects which I was a part of was Berjaya Times Square. In Berjaya Times Square, if you go connect to Wi-Fi, that was my first big project in Asia. I used to live in Melbourne then, and the backstory with that project is that back in the day, people would come into a mall and they would connect to Wi-Fi, and they would log in via their Facebook login, or they'll fill up a form. In return, the organization captures your data, which is all a part of T's and C's. But the hardware that's installed at the mall actually is tracking every single device at the venue. So it's actually tracking your movement anonymously. What they're trying to understand is Berjaya Times Square has multiple entrances. There's one towards the U Mobile side, there's one towards Berjaya Hotel side, and there's the main entrance, there's the basement for car park, people who are driving in. They were trying to understand where does maximum traffic come from? And based on that, how do we optimize our space? Where do people come in from? Where do they go from there? Where do they exit from, etc.? So in a big e-commerce website, are you looking at that kind of analytical data? Where do people come in on from the website? What do they click on? What products are they clicking on? Where do they drop off, etc.? Is that something of big relevance right now?
Of course, definitely,
Yeah.
because without understanding that, you wouldn't know what worked and what not. And building a website is one thing, but optimizing it is another whole game. So on our end, what we are trying to do, and we haven't done this yet because it's very difficult, and I'm sure platforms like MoEngage might be able to help with these kind of challenges, is making sure that the right content is displayed to the right users. And these are all personalized content. And it's not just about marketing. It's not just about showing the right content and using the right channels for marketing, but it's also that core content that you have on the website. For instance, if I always go to the website and my purchases are always on discount items, you would want to show all this discount banners to me, because then you raise the conversion rate for me when I go in. And whatever personas that you have, whatever segments that you have, show them the relevant content. If I always buy shoes, show me more new ins for shoes. And it's really little things like, displaying my favorite categories on the top of the page in the product listing pages, that could give a monumental impact to the conversion rate. So
Absolutely.
Definitely, yeah.
Completely agree with that. Guys, there's a question in chat from Stewart Kumar. I'll read it out, and then maybe Izza, you can go first. He says, I get that a unified and centralized data warehouse in an omnichannel platform helps with the guiding of customer journey in buying decision-making process. Does it also include the customer support channels? And did you need to upgrade those channels to be able to track your CSAT or net promoter score of customers that engage with your brand? It's over to you.
Yeah, I mean, that is also key because customer service is something that, well, I'm not sure about Telekom, but for us, when we do our customer focus groups and when we ask our customers, they demand perfect customer service. So when you know this and this is what your customer wants, it could be something simple as making sure your live chat is 24/7 and the replies are automated. Even DMs right now, we're integrated to our Zendesk. We use Zendesk as ticketing systems, and we automate replies in our Instagram DMs to make sure they feel like we're attending to them 24/7. So our customers love it when we give them attention, and that actually is one of the key reasons why they keep coming back, because they feel like we're their friend. We're not just another seller or retailer. We tend to their needs. So if there were focuses in the business, and this is what we do as well, customer service is definitely on top of that priority list. In fact, one of our core values is customer is bae. Customer is above everything else. So anything, even you can, in our company, even if the customers complain to the CEO or C-levels, they also feedback to us to make sure that we attend to them immediately as possible. So yes, you definitely need to invest in that, because that's the touch point that your customers can actually have a direct communication with you, because you don't get to basically engage with them in the website. Those are all like static. You don't have human interaction with them there. It's the customer service that helps with that.
Absolutely. Yep. We also have the whole live chat, but in B2B, it's not like we don't have to be available 24/7, because our customers like Khairold is normally not working on weekends. So, but if
really.
he needs something, if he needs something, he calls me on WhatsApp.
Not really, because like I've been, like me being the head of product, I'm always looking for new technologies and partners. And then when they have these chat services and I want to ask about the pricing and more information, I can't, because we're basically not in the right time zone. So it pisses customers off too, even though it's not B2C.
Absolutely. Got it. Khairold, so you will have a front-end team that does something similar to look after your customers, and people like you in the team interface with us to enable tools. What are your thoughts on integrating your support channels with marketing automation? Is that integration in place? Not sure.
That integration is in place, but it's harder for us because we have been operating for a long time and we have a larger physical presence, right? All over Malaysia, we have a lot of Unified stores, right? And then what else? The TM point, we have authorized dealers. So the interaction with the customer, we have multiple interaction point, even with our installers. So there's a lot of systems. So it's not really an easy task for us to integrate everything so that we can have a seamless experience across channel. We are definitely doing that, but I think we definitely can improve so much more. What we're doing right now is we're trying to get all the customers' product holding, for example, the services that the customer have subscribed to for how long, and then the payment that they're making every month, and also the complaints they're submitting, and then all this is kept inside the database. It will be distributed to the system that will be using them later on. So the fundamentals are there, but the execution part, we're still working on it. Yeah.
Okay. See, one of the next big innovations I see coming in Omnichannel is a user receiving a WhatsApp or a Messenger or a Viber message based on their transactional or behavior on a particular e-commerce website. So that those channels are now opening up. They're the next big channels. I think that will completely reduce the usage of emails from what I'm seeing. Maybe 12 months down the road, marketing will be more on these channels. Let's say I receive a message from you on WhatsApp, which is already happening. That kind of business model is already available, and I reply back to you. Yeah. Right. Are those kind of chatbots already being used in your organization in e-commerce? If I reply back to your WhatsApp or your business WhatsApp channel, what do you do there?
Izza or me? You asking me?
Either or.
Okay,
you go first, Khairold.
Okay, yeah. So we did experiment with chatbot and stuff. So the difficult part is that trying to really, because the challenge with this chatbot interfacing is that people expect immediate answer, right? And also people expect, even though they might know that they're not interacting with a human, but they will ask questions as if it's a human at the back, right? So whenever that the chatbot unable to answer the question, they will get frustrated. So that is the tricky part in implementing chatbot, especially when before buying your product, you have a bunch of questions, right? Open-ended questions. If you can, the key in doing this chatbot is to structure your question in a way that can be objective, true or false, you know, instead of like open-ended. So that one we have not mastered yet, but that is what we learn. As soon as you put something on a chatbot, they will expect it to be a human-like experience. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. User expectation is always, you know, right now, I need the answer right now. I don't want to wait for 2 hours or 3 hours. Izza, in your business, have you integrated your chatbots with marketing automation yet?
No, so basically, we do have that plan, and I agree with Khairold as well. I mean, when we did a lot of marketing research, people, even yourself, like even if you use like AirAsia's chatbot or whatever, customers feel frustrated because they don't, in the end, don't get their answer, and they still have to call their agent and speak to human. So in our business, we felt that it wasn't a priority to have this automation or to work on it yet, because we would rather build that relationship with the customers first and get that right. And perhaps then, like Khairold said, carve out that really, I wouldn't say it's easy, that carve out that difficult structure of how to answer the customers correctly. Right now, we really don't know that. And for us, it's not about the support, customer support for chatbots, but for us, because we're in e-commerce, we're basically focusing on automated replies for conversational commerce, where customers can basically browse and purchase and track their orders on whatever social chat platforms. It could be Facebook Messenger, it could be WhatsApp, because it's integrated to our internal systems and our e-commerce systems. So we're more focused on the conversational commerce part instead of that customer support part, because we know our customers really want to talk to people, and you know, you guys will be so surprised that they even talk about their life problems to us.
Wow.
That's how we.
Do you have an example?
Well, I bought this shirt, and it's for my wedding, but I don't know which one would fit better with this color. Can you help me? So they give their pictures of the theme of the wedding. So we get involved in their lives, and this is something amazing that I see. That's why chatbot is something we're quite reluctant to do, because of the issues that we see, and because the relationship that we want is a quality relationship with the customers.
Yeah. That's brilliant. I love hearing that. Yes, Khairold.
Right. I can see where chatbot can. I'm not necessarily chatbot, more of keeping customer informed. You know, the status of their orders, the status of their outage and stuff. But when there are two-way communication, that is where it gets tricky. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Very interesting. But do you get people telling you about your life problems at Telekom Malaysia, that they're getting married?
No, they tell us about our problem. Yeah.
Okay. And I'll ask one last question to you both, which is more of a personal question from MoEngage perspective. And then I'll take one final question from the audience. What do you think needs to be the next big innovation in B2C customer marketing? Where are we lagging? Where are your efforts lagging in terms of being able to build better customer loyalty and be able to serve your customers better? Khairold, you first.
Yeah. When you say we, do you mean MoEngage or how?
No, you guys, as in, where do you need more innovation from partners like us in the background?
Right. So I think what we need, this would be specific to larger corporations, right? Because things move slower in larger corporations, right? We are not as agile. So we typically, things that are easy for, you know, smaller companies or for startup or, you know, tech-based company where everything can be done quick, it's not as easy for us. So we would rely on companies like you to provide that. For example, things like implementing what MoEngage already have, right? All the trackings and stuff like that. It's not that hard if you have an internal tech team. You know, it's just coding. But the process of a large corporation for us to implement that can defer the timeline for the delivery of those features. So that's why you can see that a lot of vendors who attend to these large companies, they provide also the mandates for the implementations. So I'm sure that there are ways of not necessarily giving your manpower to the companies to implement it, but there are tools that make it easier for the implementation, where the product manager or the marketer can just, you know, implement it with just a few clicks instead of depending for the capacity of their internal developers. Yeah, I think is where it's like specifically for larger companies.
Okay, got it.
Right.
And Izza, any innovations do you think need to happen soon to continue helping companies like you grow?
I wouldn't say innovation. I mean, not well. Right now, I know people are going into CDPs, and that's not an innovation per se, but it's something that is a struggle that we feel that we need to do and conquer, because that previously people were talking about CRM and that's how they know their customers, but now with the CDPs and DMP is no longer being talked about, right? So we want to know our customers 360. We want to know them specifically, not anonymously. We want to know if it's Izza, what Izza is shopping, where is Izza shopping. So those are the kind of things that I would say is a challenge to implement in my company especially, and that is where that kind of innovation, that it's not just about the team, it's also about the cost, it's also about all integrating all the data points, because there's third party, there's our data into that CDP, and making sure we utilize it. And with a small company like us, we have to make sure that with that kind of high tech to implement it, there has to be skilled people to use it, because then there's no point. There's no actionable items. You just have a dashboard or data. So those are the kind of challenges that I am struggling with. I know it's not an innovation, but it's something that I feel is so important for us to figure out. And I know that will make a very big impact on the business if we do this properly and correctly.
Absolutely. And MarTech overall, marketing technology overall has been around for, I think, 8 years max. The background story of MoEngage is that our founder, Ravi, actually wanted to start an e-commerce company, which he did. And he ran that for a good 18 months. And then he very quickly realized that the problem in the market is not to build a website. Like Izza, you said earlier, building a website is easy, but then being able to personalize content and being able to communicate with your users, retain them is the harder part. And just at that time, one of his friends was working at Ola Cabs, which is, like Grab in India. And he realized they have the same problem. They're having people install the apps, but people eventually forget. How do you drive a coupon? How do you drive coupon loyalty based on coupons being redeemed, etc. That's where the whole MoEngage idea came into being about 7 years ago. So completely agree with both of you there. Doing this right, working with a vendor like us, of course, very important. There's a question from a gentleman here, Sue N. We have 10 more minutes before we want to wrap this up. Let me thank you both, first of all, for joining the conversation, because I have a great way of answering this question. The question is, how do you capture the customer's behavior and personalize what, when, and where to show to each customer? What are the best tools and metrics to track? So Khairold, if I ask you this question, how do you capture the customer's behavior and personalize what, when, where? I think you rely on MoEngage platform to do most of this. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, so one of the tools is MoEngage. Yep.
I'll just open up my screen because I have 10 minutes to show 3 key features on the platform. And this question from Sue, and great question, by the way, completely directly addresses what I was about to show at the end. So how do we capture data? We capture it via technology integrations. Let me just open up my screen and show it to our audience. We have quite a few people still here. So everybody who's on the call, Izza, Khairold's definitely seen this many times. So what we do here is we are able to integrate with a website or an app. What do we capture? We capture user events, such as user may have added a product to cart. Let's say we can come and say we want to only target a particular platform. They were on the iOS and they were looking at shoes, size 10 as an example. On the MoEngage platform, we can come and build these segments very easily, added a product to cart, but they have not executed, let's say, an order successful. Izza, this is very heavy e-commerce terminology. Probably you can write all of this in your sleep. Very, very e-commerce heavy. Added a product to cart, did not complete the order, show count. And on the MoEngage platform, you see the entire segment ready within seconds. You click on this, and right there, you'll be able to see, how can I communicate with these people now? Android, iOS, websites, all of the user profiles here with all of the data that we are capturing under GDPR, PDPA, DPA compliance tools. And directly from here, we're able to build a campaign. How do we now build this campaign? Well, first of all, let's say we want to personalize the campaign. So I'll go and do a push campaign. I'll say, okay, let's, this user was on the app. They looked at a product on the app. They clicked on it. I'm going to try and build a campaign. I'll just say test campaign. I'll say, okay, this is promotional. They could also be transactional if they've already purchased something and you're sending them an email with the receipt or the invoice. And then I'll say, I want to do iOS and also web, maybe just iOS and web. This is a very proprietary feature to us. I won't talk much about it, very high engineering. Our company kind of invented this. Just skip it for now. And this is where you personalize the message. So how you personalize, you go and say, hi, put @ and then pick up the name of the person. So if a company is running, let's say 1 million user database, how does everybody receive, hi Khairold, hi Izza, hi Saurabh? They're not manually typing any of this. This is all personalized in the background. But then it becomes more interesting. You can put your deep links here. If a user clicks on something, what page would they end up on? If you have a web progressive app, it may be a rich landing, etc., etc. And all of the personalization can happen here. That's the first thing I wanted to show. Second thing, based on my question, when to do it. So on MoEngage, we use AI, we use machine learning. We have a feature we call Sherpa. Sherpa actually looks at the past 28 days of data and decides what is the best 3-hour or 4-hour window to send an email or a push notification to someone based on the user's past behavior. So if somebody is more active on your app, your own digital ecosystem between, let's say, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., then typically our AI will say, okay, send them a message at 6:30 because that's the window they are most active on. Email, some people will receive at 7 a.m., some people will receive at 7 p.m. based on their past behavior. So all of that artificial intelligence, machine learning is built into our platform. And last question from Sue and was where? Now, where is very important. I actually have something here. Where do you send that message? If I go into our journey orchestration section. So where do you send that message? Look, again, the way industry started first, a company like MoEngage, we did integrations between various channels. We said, okay, if a user has executed view cart 1 time in the last 3 months, the audience is all users, 200 people entered this journey. So Izza, this is very e-commerce again. You build a segment and then we check, have they done an event? Have they completed order successful at least 1 time in the past 12 hours? If the answer is no, they have, yes, they've completed, then we stop right there. We don't send them any communication. But if the answer is yes, that they have completed a particular event, but not completed a purchase, then automatically we are able to trigger off a voucher here. So this 30% voucher goes out via push notification. If it goes out via push notification, I'll just try and increase the size of my screen. We center it. It will go out via push notification and so on. Then we can go down and say, okay, have they done an event? Have they done a new event? Have they completed the purchase yet? Answer is still, if the answer is yes, again, we will exit. We will not send them anything else. If the answer is no, they've not completed the purchase, then we can trigger off an SMS, 30% off, impulsive buyer. They added a product to cart. 30 minutes later, we send them an SMS with 30% off, and chances are they'll end up completing the purchase. Along with the SMS, we can wait for a bit and also send an email. So we can use machine learning. We can use various kind of tools to optimize for this. Now, let's say we wanted to see how do we identify where people are dropping off on MoEngage. In our analytics section, we have this particular really helpful report for all industries digital that help us understand user path analysis. So in this example, what I've set up is, show me everything that ends with a device uninstall. Big problem in every industry where you've got app heavy users. People install the app, they do the OTP, they complete their profile, etc. And from there, they might end up uninstalling the app. So if we choose, okay, show me everything uninstall app over the last 14 days, what we end up seeing here is how users entered the ecosystem. In this one, they viewed a product, then they open up the website again, they viewed another product, they entered a flow, which was a marketing flow. Now we can, obviously, if I put more tags, we'll be able to see which kind of flow they entered. And once they entered the flow, maybe they received 2 push notifications and an SMS. They didn't like the experience and they ended up uninstalling the app. Yep, sometimes there's no flow here. Maybe they looked at a product or they were checking price of something. They compared it with something else. Your price was probably not right for them, and that's where they ended up just uninstalling the app, or they drop off the website. If I flip this around and I say, okay, I want to see what is the most common journey to an order successful, I'll just reduce the day range here so you can load faster. If I look at the past 24 hours of order successful, we'll be able to see what kind of users come into the system, where do they go from there, and how do they end up completing their purchase, which helps us, like I was talking earlier, people who are working in the physical industry, shopping centers, they're tracking how do we come in, how do we exit, how many people walk past a store, and what are the conversion rates, how many people end up buying something if they're walking past a store. Very similar fashion in the digital world, we can actually do better tracking because everything is digital here. In shopping centers, you can't really have that kind of technology available. I'll wait for this report to load. Meanwhile, I'll go into this funnel report. Izza, again, this is very special for e-commerce. Let's say for the audience, I added a product to cart and I then want to see how many orders were successful. Added to cart, order successful. Let's build a funnel here. So in a typical, let's say, e-commerce, fintech, telco, banking, etc., people will complete one particular event. In this case, they added a product to cart. Then out of that, 65% people actually converted. They completed the purchase. Now, back in the day, people were still manually going into finding out who are the other 34% who've not completed the purchase. But with MoEngage, that's the beauty of the technology. Click here, single click, and you can start a campaign right there. You can do one-time, periodic, event. For physical industries, it's actually very important. For companies like Fashion Valet, you have physical stores also. What you can do in your businesses, for audiences on the call, if you have physical businesses as well, you can put a geofence with MoEngage technology in the background. What geofence will do is it will only target people who are within the vicinity of your physical presence. I'll quickly show you, and I think then we can wrap up right on time with 2 minutes to go. Izza, you're still on the call. You guys have a store at Surya KLC, right? CC, right?
Yes, that's correct.
What is the store's name over there?
It's Duck.
Duck. Surya KLC, this one?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so let's say somebody is within the vicinity of 400 meters or 200 meters from your store. Now, the important thing is that they've installed your app and they've given you permission to track the app location, because they definitely want to receive a voucher when they're within the vicinity of your store. KLCC store, we type in here, we add the geofence. Now, we could trigger any kind of messaging here, but the main trigger is the geofence in the background. They have to be within the vicinity of your store to even receive a voucher or an SMS. The first time I experienced this kind of technology was in Melbourne. I was on the way to the airport, about 2 kilometers out of the airport, taking an international flight, and Vodafone sent me a message. Are you flying overseas? Why don't you enable your global travel pack? I was like, how did they know that I'm on the way to the airport? After I started working at MoEngage, I realized, okay, companies use geo-fencing technology to target people like us. The report has loaded here. I'll just show quickly and then we can wrap up. So I chose order successful. What ends with order successful? Obviously, add to cart is the obvious previous step. But then what really started? People viewed a product, they came back, they viewed a product, added to cart, complete purchase. Second largest one for me is order successful here, product viewed. Somewhere in between, we see companies, if I had set it up on the demo, voucher applied. How many people are actually applying a voucher before they make a purchase? And that gives our customers in e-commerce in various industries, more understanding of their customers on what really is driving a purchase, what really is driving app uninstall, etc. With that, right on time, I think we can finish it. Sue-N, I hope I was able to answer your question with this very brief demo. If there's anything else, you're very welcome to reach out to me, email, LinkedIn, or just get in touch through our website. I'll stop sharing my screen. Before I wrap up, again, is there any last comments?
On
On anything? before we wrap up? Or tell us about your company. What's happening at Fashion Valet during COVID? Did you guys grow? Did you see challenges?
Oh, okay. On that particular end, it's fortunate that we started online first. So our revenue contribution from online is like 70-30. So when all the store closes, we still could sustain the business, and that was very fortunate for us. And I think now things are starting to pick up. And even though during the COVID, there was a lot of pivoting in the business, whereby we initially introduced trendy items and whatnot, but then because of COVID, we pivoted to loungewear, comfortable clothes and everything. So with the whole business change and the ever evolving business directions because of the situation, it's going really well. In fact, we are on track with the targets actually. So that's great for us. Yeah.
Great to hear. A lot of jobs were impacted. I hope the world opens up very quickly. People can get back into work. A friend of mine recently bought a place here in Singapore, and he ordered all of his furniture from KL. And unfortunately, last week he got told the guy had to shut down the business. They went bankrupt. So there are some sad stories there. Thankfully,
yes.
the market's opening up and we can all get back in track. I can't wait to be in KL as soon as the lockdown opens up. Just miss the food and the people there a lot. Khairold, thanks again for supporting us. Any last comments before we wrap up?
Yeah, the last comment, and then back to, I think, especially the execution part. Sometimes when we do this, we want to have this grand, big plan, to do all these things, but sometimes you just need something that works. Where I think where you help us, Saurabh, is that everything is under one roof, from the tracking, the data consolidation, the segmentation of the audience, and then the campaign management, campaign setup, and then the data activation, reaching out back to the customers. Everything is in one place. So end-to-end is very quick. So something that works, so we can straight away get results, and show to the management that this works, this doesn't work, rather than, having like 3 years, 5 years plans to put everything in place. Only then you can see your ROI. So that is, I think, the key for us. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. We're very proud to be working with your organization. Thank you. Thank you for giving us the opportunity.